Hi, my name is Dan. This is a video on how to play the German card game Doppelkopf. It's one of my absolute favorite card games to play, and I feel like there aren't enough guided tutorials on how to play, especially in the English language. So, hopefully, this will fill that role and serve as a complete, comprehensive guide to get new players playing with minimal confusion or unanswered questions. Here's an outline of the video with some timestamps. Again, my goal here is to be completely thorough, so don't worry if you want to pause the video or skip around. I'm going to start with the basics of what a trick-taking game is. This might be common knowledge for many of you, so don't worry if you want to skip this first section entirely. Then I'm going to talk about some of the characteristics of German card games in general and how they're a bit different than some other classic card games that you might be used to. Then I will go into Doppelkopf itself and explain how a hand is played. Scoring and announcements will go into how a hand is scored and how you can hopefully improve your score. Then I will cover how the game changes with a few edge cases, show an example hand being played, and then provide an overview of how a full game of Doppelkopf goes. Lastly, I will cover some popular and fun variants, one of which I think you should probably always play with. All right, first off, I'm going to cover what a trick-taking game is. Now, I realize there are many different trick-taking rules out there, but this is just the basic rubric for most of them. Everybody will have a set hand of cards, and players will choose one card from their hand and play them in turn until all have played one to a center area. Then you evaluate who played what and compare them, and usually the best card wins and wins the entire set, and that set is called a trick. Usually there's a rule that whatever suit has been played, for example clubs or diamonds, whoever plays the first card establishes the suit of the trick, and you must follow that suit, playing the same type of card from your hand if you can. And in many games there is a suit that is stronger than all the others called the trump suit. Whoever played the strongest card will take the trick, and then they will start the process over again, choosing a new card from their hand. Usually the hand is over once all the cards have been played. And usually, depending on the game, you determine some sort of score for the hand, either by some number of tricks won or some other metric. And then, if the game is not over per the rules, then you deal a new hand and start the process all over again. Some examples of classic trick-taking games include spades, hearts, bridge, euchre, and there are plenty of others. So, let's talk a little bit about French cards, which are what most of us are probably used to, and compared them to German cards. First off, the French suits are the classic clubs, spades, hearts, and diamonds. And I'm presenting them here in this order because this particular order is common in German card games to have this ranking. If you want to remember this particular order, you can create a mnemonic device. I like Charlie shares his drink. CSHD. Compare that to classic German style suits, which are acorns, leaves, hearts, and bells. These are directly analogous to one another, so clubs become acorns. If you squint a little bit, the shape of the acorn kind of resembles a club. Spades become leaves. Again, if you squint, they kind of have the same shape. Hearts become hearts. If you squint, they kind of become the same shape. And diamonds become bells. I like to think of them as both being kind of sparkly in nature. Also, we have two cards, the queen and the jack. Those will become either the Dame and Bube, which are the lady and the boy, and then the Ober and the Unter are also some variations that you'll see in certain decks. For the rest of this presentation, or at least most of it, I will be showing your classic French deck and focus on the rules. A little bit later on in the presentation, I will show you some examples of some cards that I took from my own Doppelkopf deck here. So, German trick-taking games also have a couple of nuances that I've found have been pretty common. First off, it is a points-based system, and the rankings of cards are a little bit different. The ace of a suit is usually the highest, and that is worth 11 points. Think of this a little bit in parallel to blackjack. The second most powerful card is not the king, but rather the 10. And the 10 is worth 10 points. That's really easy to remember. After the 10, you have the remainder of the court cards. You have the king, which is worth 4 points, the queen or the dame, which is worth 3 points, and the jack or the buba, which is worth 2 points. Every other card in the suit which is not depicted here has a value of 0 points. If you do the math here, you'll see that each suit has 30 points in it. Okay, so the Doppelkopf card deck. Let me show that to you in its entirety. First off, you'll notice a couple different things. There are 2 of every card, and we only have the cards that I showed on the previous slide plus the 9s. The cards 8 through 2 are out of the deck. If you really know your card games, you might be familiar with this as a pinochle deck. And if you're looking to start playing Doppelkopf with real cards, you can either, make this deck yourself with 2 matched pairs of standard 52 card decks, or you can go out and find a pinochle deck which will have this exact card makeup in it. Now, the trump suit is not a suit the way we might think of in the game of spades, for example. In spades, spades are the trump suit. In Doppelkopf, there is a massive amalgamation of a trump suit. So the strongest cards in the game are the 10 of hearts. These are referred to as the Dulla. This will beat any other card in the game. After the 10 of hearts, you have all 8 of the queens. The queens, you'll notice, are in the same order as before: clubs, spades, hearts, and diamonds. The clubs are the most powerful queens, and the diamonds are the weakest queens. After the queens, you have the exact same thing, but for the jacks. And if that weren't enough, we're going to throw in the rest of the diamond suit. If you bother to do the counting, you'll notice that there are 26 cards here. That means that over half of the entire deck is trump cards. Let's just show you an example of one trick that's being played in Doppelkopf. West leads with the ace of clubs, so we know that everybody must follow with a club card if they are able. North will play the 10 of clubs. East will play the other ace of clubs, and South will play the king of clubs. Everybody has followed suit. You'll notice there are 2 aces in the trick. First rule, the first card played to the trick breaks the tie. So in this case, West wins the trick. We can also count up the card points as 11 plus 10 plus 11 plus 4 for the king. 36 card points in this one trick. I will say that's just for illustration purposes. You won't normally count up the value of each individual trick. At the end of the hand, each team will tally up how many points they have taken. Let's look at a second trick. Again, West is going to lead. They're going to lead with the ace of hearts. North is going to play the 9 of hearts, king of hearts from east, and then the jack of hearts from south. Now, you'll notice, probably because of the blue shading, that this is a little bit different. That's because the jack of hearts is not really a heart card. It belongs in its own suit, the trump suit, which I covered just a bit ago. So here, South is going to win because they have no hearts in hand. They played a trump card. This is worth 17 card points, 11 plus 0 for the 9, 4 and 2 for the Jack. This would be functionally the same as if South had played, say, the Jack of Spades. Other than the Jack being a little bit stronger because of the suit hierarchy, this is the same play as before. It doesn't matter that the Jack had a heart on it. It is just a trump card. That probably will throw you for a couple of games because you'll have to recognize the trump cards themselves independent of the suits that are printed on the cards. So we're talking about these individual tricks. What does a full hand of Doppelkopf look like? If you do the math, there are 240 points in the deck. Your goal for the hand is you want to win a majority of the points that are available. So you want to win 121 points or more. If you manage to do this, you and your partner are going to gain score points. I'm calling them score points to differentiate them from card points. Simultaneously, the other two players are going to lose the same amount of score points. And this is handy because Doppelkopf is therefore a zero-sum game. If you manage to either make special announcements, which are like bets, or perform some special feats with the trick-taking card play, then you can increase the amount of score points that you win, and simultaneously the amount of score points that the opposing team loses. So, who is your partner? The answer is you don't know. And this is what makes Doppelkopf beautiful and fun and one of my favorite games. Everything stems from this fact that the partnership is hidden and it changes from round to round. Now might be a great time to introduce the first special card in the deck, which is the Ray card. Ray basically just refers to the Queen of Clubs. Quite simply, the two players who hold Queens of Clubs are on the same team. And they don't know this when the hand starts. They just know which team they're on. The opposing team is called the Contra team. And all they need to do is prevent the Ray team from getting that majority of 121 points, and they will win. You can kind of think of Ray as the offense and then Contra as the defense. And defense will win a tie. Now, nobody is allowed to just whip out the Ray card and show that they're on a particular team. They have to play it to a trick. Through the course of the hand play, you will discover who is on which team, or it is possible to have certain announcements, and we will cover that here in a sec. One more example trick to drive the point home. East, they play the 10 of spades. North has no spades and plays the Queen of Clubs. Following the original suit, East plays the Ace of Spades, and then the King of Spades is played by South. North, having played a trump card, they will take the trick, and simultaneously they have also revealed that they are on the Ray team. Whoever else has a Queen of Clubs is their partner for this hand. This particular trick is worth 28 card points, 10 plus 3 for the Queen, 11 for the Ace, and 4 for the King. Already, hopefully, you're seeing a little bit of the inherent strategy. You'll notice that immediately after North played the Ray card, East played the Ace, which is the most valuable spade card. Did they do that because that was the only spade they had left? Or do they have more spades and they're trying to feed points to their newly discovered partner? We don't know. So I talked about these score points for winning the hand. Let's show an initial breakdown of what kind of points you can get. First, If you win the hand, you meet that 121 point threshold, you get 1 point. The Ray team has an advantage because the Queen of Clubs is the second strongest card in the game, and they each have one, so it's a little bit more difficult to win as Contra. Therefore, if Contra wins, they get 1 bonus point. They call that beating the old ladies or beating the elders. Then what could happen is whichever team wins, they could get so many points that they prevent the other team from even getting 90 card points. We call this no 90. If that happens, then whatever the score is so far, you add another point. And what you're going to notice is there's tiers. Plus 1 point for going no 60, preventing the other team from getting 60 points. There's another for no 30. And finally, if you manage to get all the cards for the whole hand, that is known as Schwartz. That is a maximum of 5 or 6 points, depending on which team you're on. This leads us to announcements. Announcements are effectively bets at the start of a hand. If you're confident in your hand strength, you can announce either Ray or Contra, which reveals which team you're on, and that adds +2 to the score points for the round. If you have one of the Queens of Clubs, then you would say Ray, and what you're saying is that we are going to win, and we're staking an extra 2 points on that claim. You have to do this before you play your second card of the hand. So you have to still have 11 cards in hand in order to call Ray or Contra. Little note here, if you actually call Contra, what you're saying is that you will outright win, so you will take a majority, not just 120. If somebody calls Ray or Contra, the other team can choose to announce that as well. They will get 1 extra round of chance to do so, to add an additional 2 points to the hand. After you have the initial Ray or Contra call, you can further announce no 90. If you have 10 or more cards, no 60 with 9 or more cards, no 30 with 8 or more, and Schwartz with 7 or more. However, each call has to have the previous calls already called. You can only say no 60 if somebody calls no 90. And no 90 assumes that it is going off of the previous call. If the first call is Ray, nobody calls Contra. When somebody says no 90, if it's somebody different, they're revealing that they are on the Ray team, because the Ray team is the one making the calls. One person can announce Ray or Contra, and their partner can choose to reveal themselves through a call of no 90, for example. If you're making the calls of no 90 or, I guess, less, this raises the threshold for a win. So if you say no 90, if you did not prevent the other team from getting 90 points, then you will lose. Let's revisit this score points list and include announcements with it. 1 point for winning the game, bonus point if Contra wins against the Elders, 2 points added for calling Ray, and 2 points for calling Contra. Remember, both could be called in the course of a game. You get the point for going no 90, and you add a point if you happen to announce that no 90. +1 for no 60, +1 if you announce no 60, and so on and so forth, all the way down to Schwartz. In the case of, for example, calling a no 90, but not achieving that no 90, you do effectively double the points which go to the winning team. Those are the announcement points. There are also a couple of opportunities to get bonus points just from some clever card play. The first depends on the Ace of Diamonds, and this is called catching a fox. The Ace of Diamonds is referred to as the fox, and if an opposing team captures an ace of diamonds, then the team that captured it scores a bonus score point, or takes one away if the other team happens to win. Let's say the Ray team wins and they've called it, so they would get 3 points. If the Contra team happens to capture an ace of diamonds in the process, then the score is reduced to 2 instead of 3. Next, we have Charlie Miller, or in German, Müller. If the very last trick of the hand is 1 with the Jack of Clubs, that's Charlie, that team will score a bonus point. And finally, there's the game's namesake, the Doppelkopf. If any trick is worth 40 or more points, logically that means it consists only of aces and or tens, then whoever takes that trick gets a bonus score point. Note that these are not in effect if we have a solo game, which I'll get to later. Let's take some score examples using the announcements, the score sheets from before, and these special scenarios. So example number 1. The Ray team wins. They announced Ray, and they held the Contra team to only 85 points. Although one of the Contra players did capture an ace of diamonds from the Ray team. What does this look like? Well, Ray gets 1 point for the win, 2 points for calling Ray, and 1 for achieving no 90, but not the extra bonus point for announcing it because they were silent. However, they do lose a point for the other team having caught a fox. 1 plus 2 plus 1 minus 1 is 3 points for the Ray team, and Contra team loses 3. Example number 2. Ray got announced, followed by no 90. It was implied that that was the Ray team. The Contra team got 92 points, and they ended the hand by taking the last trick with the Jack of Clubs. We get 1 point for the win, plus 1 because Contra beat Ray, because Ray called no 90 and they actually did get 90. You've added 2 points for the Ray call, 2 points for the no 90 call, and you've added another point for the Charlie Miller. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 equals minus 7 for the Ray team and 7 for the Contra team. So now is the time to address the most obvious question that you probably have. What happens if one person is dealt both the queens of clubs? This introduces the concept of the reservation, because I have not yet explained how the hand starts. Start of the hand, you deal out all 48 cards, and then starting to the left of the dealer and going clockwise, each person will either say gesund, which is German for healthy, if nothing is special about their hand which would dictate that you're going to play the game any differently. You're just going to follow the standard rules. You're going to say, I've got a healthy hand. However, if something is amiss or different, and you want to play the hand in a special way, you would then announce Vorbehalt, or reservation. This says, I'd like to play a little bit differently. But you don't reveal exactly what yet. You give everybody a chance to chime in to see if they have a reservation or not. If there are any reservations, they are revealed in order what the reservations are until it's obvious what the new rules are. There are different types of reservations that would give away certain information about your hand, and there's a hierarchy as to what exceptions take precedence over others. The highest ranking reservation is going to take precedence, and that will change the rules of how the hand is played. It may not be necessary for some of the later reservation callers, if there are any, to announce what their reservation was. The first reservation is the one that we just brought up, which is the Hochzeit, which is German for marriage. The Hochzeit is a reservation that's called by the person who has 2 queens of clubs in their hand. What they're saying is that whoever happens to win the first trick other than themselves, they will be their partner. So if I have both queens of clubs and let's say the person to my right wins the first trick, then boom, they are my partner, and we are immediately referred to as the Ray team. If I take the first trick, then we just wait and see who wins the second trick. If, I win again, then we'll see the third trick. If no one else manages to win during those first three tricks and I take them all, the player who has the two queens of clubs, me in this scenario, would be forced to play a solo game. Basically, it's 3 versus 1. Normally, if you're going to announce a Hochzeit, you're going to want a partner, so you're trying not to win all 3 of the first tricks. The rest of the hand is going to proceed as normal, including allowing announcements. But let's say the partnership was not established in trick number 1. Let's say trick number 2 established the partnership. Then all of the timing requirements for announcements are delayed by 1. Let's say the partnership was established in the second round, then you have to have 10 cards in hand in order to call Ray or Contra. In the hierarchy of reservations, the Hochzeit loses to any other reservations that might be called. The second type of reservation is called the Armut. This is actually technically a variant, but it's been played in all the rule sets that I've ever seen, so I think it's pretty widely accepted. If someone has an Armut, or a poverty, when they announce that reservation, they are saying they have no more than 3 trump cards, which is quite a feat for a deck that has more than half trump cards in it. What they're doing with this announcement is asking for a partner. They're going to start to their left and ask if they would like to be their partner in the Armut. If they decline, they move to whoever's across from them, then finally to the right. If anyone does agree, then the Armut player will take 3 hidden cards from their hand, which has to include all the trump cards that they have, and they will give that to their new partner. The new partner will then give back 3 cards to the person who announced the Armut. Usually, those will not be trump cards, but they can include trump cards. And then Armut is going to beat a Hochzeit in priority, but it will be beat by a solo reservation. It's important to note here that if the Armut is declined by all potential partners, then the hand is mucked and we'll just redeal the hand. Lastly, there's the solo reservation. If you have a particularly strong hand, you can call for a solo, and you're going to be on your own team versus the other 3 players. In a full game of Doppelkopf, each player is required to play at least 1 solo hand by the end of the game. You can choose to go solo multiple times, but your first solo is considered your compulsory solo. If there's ever a conflict of 2 players wanting to take a solo in the same round, then if one of them has not yet completed their compulsory solo, that person gets priority over the elective solo. Usually, the player who calls a solo is going to alter the trump suit and the hierarchy. You'll see a couple different configurations on the next slide, but you still have announcements like Ray and so on still possible. The incentive here is that you will win or lose 3 times the normal score points, with each other player losing or winning the regular amount. That's how you keep it a zero-sum game. I mentioned that the first solo that you play is going to be your mandatory solo, your compulsory solo. It's important to note that since a game is defined by a certain number of deals passing around the table, and the compulsory solos are little exceptions, little hiccups in the game flow, the round after a compulsory solo, the person who dealt it will deal the next hand and resume normal rotation. Let's look at the different types of solo that you can have. First off, there is a suit solo. Look back at the massive trump suit with the 10 of hearts at the top, all the queens, all the jacks, and then all the diamonds. In a suit solo, you're going to switch out the ace, 10, king, and 9 of diamonds for a different suit. Potentially. You could call a diamond solo, which would keep everything as normal, or for example, you could call a club solo. And so then the diamonds just become their own normal suit, and then the ace, 10, king, and 9 of clubs take the place of the original diamonds in the trump suit. All the other trump cards stay where they are in the hierarchy. A little exception is if you call hearts, you only put the ace, king, and 9 of hearts in the place of the diamonds. The 10 of hearts is always going to stay at the top of the trump suit hierarchy. Next, you have the queen solo. This is fairly simple, all things considered. Nothing is trump except just the queen cards. And they keep their usual ranking with clubs being the strongest and diamonds being the weakest. But only those 8 cards are trump. Similarly, a jack solo is functionally the same, only you're keeping the jacks as trump and nothing else is. Lastly, you could call an ace solo, sometimes called a fleshless or vegetarian solo. What this means is that the aces are the trump cards, but if you think about it, the aces are the highest cards anyway, so functionally speaking, there are no trump cards. You just play a trumpless trick taker. What I'm going to do here, since we've covered pretty much all the rules, including reservations, announcements, how you play the hand, I've recorded a little video from the Doppelkopf app. I'll try and include details of that in the description, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along while I talk through it, and we'll see how that affects the game. This will be the first hand of a digital game, and here we set our options and we start the hand. We are dealt, and here's our hand. You'll notice that blue is the trump suit and Hochzeit is what I call as a reservation because I have both queens of clubs. Someone leads with the ace of clubs. I must follow with the 10 of clubs. They won, so they're my partner, and they decide to call Ray. They play the 9 of hearts. I also play my only heart. Now spades are led. It's an all ace trick, so I play the 10 of spades following suit, and that will give us a Doppelkopf. So an extra point for us. 9 of clubs, I don't have to follow suit because I have no clubs, so I played the ace, but I was a little reckless, and the opposing team caught a fox because I lost the ace of diamonds. Here, my partner has a strong card, so I feed him a king, which is worth just a little bit more points. Here, I can see my partner's going to win with the jack of clubs, so I'll feed another king. 10 of diamonds, I really want to win, so I play my second Ray card. And I'll just play some of my weaker cards. And note that I still have the jack of clubs, so I might want to hold on to that for now. Partner was out with the 10 of hearts, and then unfortunately it's all queens, so my Charlie doesn't win anything. Here you see a breakdown. There's 1 point for the fact that we won, +2 for the fact that we called Ray. We did get a Doppelkopf, which gives us a +1, but then I lost the fox, which loses us 1 point. And you can see the point tallies over there, the card point tallies over there on the left. 142 points for us and 98 points for the opposing team. You'll notice that me and my partner now have 3 points, and then the other 2 players have -3 points. Now that you've seen a hand, we can talk about what a full game entails. In tournament play, a game consists of 5 full rounds around the table, 20 hands, plus the compulsory solos. Now, it is possible, if everybody agrees, to try and play fewer rounds around the table instead of 5, but this number is for tournament play, and I think it's a good target to strive for, because the more games you can play in a full game, or the more hands you can play in a full game, the more the bad luck gets mitigated through averages. One thing that you'll notice is that, the more you play it, the best way to climb to the top of the score chart is to just be a good partner, no matter who your partner happens to be. As I said, at the end of a hand, you can always double check to see that you've been doing your math right on the score sheet, because all 4 players' scores should total 0. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to talk about some really fun variants which spice up the game and make it super, super fun. The first one I would say is almost mandatory, because it just adds such a strategic element. The 10 of Hearts. That's the most powerful card in the game, and normally the first card played to the trick wins the trick if you have a tie. The 10 of Hearts is a little bit special in this variant. For every trick except the last one of the hand, the second 10 of Hearts is going to be the one that wins. So this prevents some brash, cocky, careless play of your 10 of Hearts, always being suspicious that it might be overtaken if somebody else has the other 10 of Hearts. So I highly recommend this variant. Another variant that I've been trying recently and been having a lot of fun with is the Schweinen variant, or the piglets. Remember the foxes, the aces of diamonds. If one person is dealt both of the aces of diamonds, then before playing their first ace of diamonds, they can announce Schweinen in the middle of the hand, or piglets. What that does is it takes the aces and puts them above the 10 of Hearts and makes those the most powerful trump cards. That is an extra fun thing to do and to be suspicious of if you've been playing most of the hand and nobody has revealed a fox yet, and all of a sudden maybe my 10 of Hearts is in danger. It's an exciting twist to the standard game. The forced announcement is one that I would like to try soon. One thing that really drives the competitiveness and the excitement of Doppelkopf is the announcement system, trying to determine when you have the good hand and when you should go and risk a little bit more to get a little bit more. And especially for newer players, this might be good, because if the first trick is worth 30 or more points, then whoever wins that trick must announce either Ray or Contra, depending on which team they're on. Obviously, this doesn't really apply to a Huxite, but if the first trick is worth a whopping 30 points, that's a strong enough start that it's reasonable to force an announcement. One of my favorites, once I read it, is the Hyperschweinen, or as I like to call it, Hyperpigs. So this is, I'll go ahead and say the pun. This piggybacks off of the piglets rule, if that's in effect. And if Schweinen or piglets has been called by the person who holds both the ace of diamonds, and somebody else holds both the 9 of diamonds, a useless card, the lowest trump, they can announce hyper piglets or hyper pigs, and the 9 of diamonds climbs to the top of the trump hierarchy. So it will be 9 of diamonds, ace of diamonds, 10 of hearts. In this scenario, the person who thought that they had invincible pigs now are once again subject to the potential catch a fox rule. So if the 9 of diamonds manages to capture a ace of diamonds, then it is once again worth 1 point, just like it were catching a fox. I have not yet played this. It sounds wacky and fun, excellent for being a few beers deep. Last couple ones, there's one that I've read about where if any player has been dealt 5 or more 9s in their hand, the hand is too pathetic to go on, and they can ask for a redeal at the start of the hand, and everybody will turn their cards back in and reshuffle and deal. And the last one is really included as a nod to the people who got me into Doppelkopf in the first place, that being Ryan Campbell and Sean Ross. Sean Ross having designed haggis, bacon, and a number of other modern trick takers. And this is known as the half a chicken. Literature on this is extremely sparse, but effectively, if anyone has both of the 10 of diamonds in their hand, they may declare half a chicken, just like you would piglets or anything else. The announcement does functionally nothing, but a gentle person does so regardless. So even though it changes nothing about the game, I think that underscores the sheer ridiculousness that is possible in a game of Doppelkopf, but also Doppelkopf can be an extremely interesting tactical and strategic game all the same. It really has something for everybody. So with that, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you noticed any errors, please let me know. I'll try and either incorporate some edits, and let me know if you liked the video and would like to see more rules explanations of some classic card games. Thanks.